Hey there, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Chapo Dong in a busy household of teenagers coming at you on a Friday. Today, we're going to do the super simple cash player pool for Fanduel and Draftkings. And we're going to dive right in here, as I am the senior coach and contributor here at DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shopping for all things daily fantasy sports. And we're working on teaching you to become a better cash game MLB player. Of course, MLB is very, very volatile. Ups and downs are to be expected, but we are 15-3 in our last 18 slates. We cashed easily last night, hit the 100-man league as well, gotten in the top 12. The cash game lineup system is a rocking and rolling. We're calling it the too tight player pool, and let me show you how it's done. We're going to dive into the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer, and all we need is ownerships posted. Once those ownerships get posted, we are off and running on the main slate. Any slate you want to use for ownerships works. For starting on FanDuel, we're going to open up the 5 lineups. We're going to keep it in optimal mode. We're going to do 2 unique players, no randomization, and we're going to sort by projected ownership. Give that little baby a click, see who the chalk is for the slate, uncheck everybody, and we just roll position by position. Who do we got at pitcher today? Looks like Max Scherzer. Looks like Kevin Gausman, maybe Eduardo Rodriguez. I heard rumors that Walker Buehler was on the slate, but I ain't seeing it. If he's way down here with 0% ownership, this is going to change throughout the day. But right now, it looks like Max Scherzer's leader in the clubhouse, a little bit of Kevin Gausman if you'd like. And we'll let the optimizer do the rest. If you want to include Eduardo Rodriguez, I guess for a cheap guy, go for it. But in cash games, I typically pay up. Scherzer's probably safest. If I need a little bit of salary relief, I guess Gausman's hiding within the ownership groups as well. But I don't typically like to do that. I'm hoping Max Scherzer finds his way into most of my lineups. But again, you never know where that $1,000 is going to need to be spent. Maybe it pumps up the bats just a smidge and gets you a little bit higher floor if, projections seem to think Gausman's going to perform, whatever the case may be. I just like to kind of stay as close as I can to the highest ownership on the slate and then choose within that chalk. So I look for these breakpoints to figure out where am I going to drop off, where am I not going to consider guys anymore, because really and truly, if they have a good game, they're not really going to hurt me because they're not very highly owned. And in a cash game, I don't need to win the damn thing. I just need to get close. And if I get close, I'm in like Flynn. So I hide within those numbers. And maybe here or there, I'll find a couple of spots where I can get a little bit different than everybody else, but only if it makes sense. So I do a little bit of game log hunting, do a little bit of clicking around for recency, who's hot, who's not, get a feel for who's going on and who's maybe swinging the bat well. Like yesterday, we saw some Mike Moustakas, who's cheap. We saw some Colin Moran. We saw some Ben Gamble. But we were on a short slate. We didn't have a lot to choose from. Today's slate, before I ramble too much, is a big one. So we've got a lot of sensible choices. That's going to tend to dilute that ownership a good bit. We probably don't need a catcher. Salvi Perez projected ownership at 30% is going to be a little crazy for today, so we will include it just because. But when I'm looking over here at these first basemen, this is where I generally want to land. I've got a little CJ Cron for some reason, Candelario. Brad Miller's been good lately. Candelario has not, so bear that in mind. Max Muncy is an okay cash player usually. Freddie Freeman, Anthony Rizzo, Yuli Gurriel, these guys when they're in good spots. So if these ownerships change as lineups confirm, we will definitely come back later and rerun this for ourselves when we're actually building a lineup. But just to show you the methodology and just to show you the process, this is what we're doing today. Look at how spread out this ownership is here. Not a lot's really going to matter. Yeah, Javi Baez, Marcus Semien, Whit Merrifield, Jose Iglesias, they make the most sense, but don't tell me Jose Altuve is not a cash-safe player right now. He's fine. Gleyber Torres had a big game recently. Ketel Marte has been outstanding the last week or two. These are guys that I would also include in my cash game lineups. They're not going to appear on this first batch probably, but they might later in the day, so I'm keeping them included. Bobby Witt Jr., the Kansas City Royals have been a little weird, so maybe these ownerships are not fully populated just yet. Ryan McMahon probably don't need. Rafael Devers is a decent cash play. Alex Bregman's a decent cash play usually. Jose Ramirez there's one of your lower owned pivot plays that you can use in cash games if you want to get a little different, get a little leverage on the field. But we don't look to do that in cash games, like I said before. When I play a guy who's got 25, 30% ownership, he doesn't really hurt me too bad if he has a bad game because so many other people had him as well. Now, if I want to take that little extra chance, I can use like a Jose Ramirez in a good matchup. The problem is when Jose Ramirez doesn't have a good game and somebody like Jose Altuve does, then that really screws you up. it really puts you behind the 8 ball because you can't catch up unless the rest of your lineup smashes. And if the rest of your lineup is also highly owned players, you've got nothing on the field. The one shot you took failed, and you are 10 points behind the rest of the night. It just doesn't, it's much safer just to hide within that ownership. That's why we're pimping this method right now. And it's also why it's 15-3. It's why it's working. Javi Baez, Marcus Semien, Jose Iglesias, Bobby Witt Jr., Corey Seager's been popular again lately. We could probably include him, but Trey Turner's usually a cash game type of play. Bogart's Story when they're going well. We look down a little bit more. Don't need to use any of those guys. Outfield is typically deep. It's where we can take a ton of bats and usually take our value here. Because again, when people are projected about the same, it really doesn't matter too much who you pick. And you might opt for the cheaper bat as a result. You've got to get to know some names though. Like your Kyle Tuckers, your Jordan Luplows, these guys are typically a little more boom or bust, a little streaky. So look for them to catch hot streaks before you include them in your cash player pools. Benintendi's been cold as hell lately. Austin Meadows has been awful this year so far. Even Whit Merrifield's not great. So I'm really hoping that I can get away from these guys as the day goes on, as ownerships shift around. Because right now I'm not very happy with this player pool. It's right at our normal 20 to 25 players. We click optimize and we kick out what we want to see. We see a lot of Max Scherzer, Salvi Perez, Marcus Semien, Austin Meadows, and going to see a lot of Royals. That's not good, man. On an 11-game slate, you don't need 4 people from the same team. You just don't. So you might go through, you might 1v1 swap them. You probably don't need 3 Texas Rangers either. If I was going to swap someone out, probably be putting Corey Seager in for Marcus Semien and would see who I would get to swap out for Marcus Semien's cheap price. I don't know. Not a lot. If I had guys 2,500 and below in the utility spot, I'm going to have some more options, but they're not going to be great. Yeah, see, still pretty much nobody. Candelario is about it. So if I was going to swap out Corey Seager, I could use Jose Altuve or Ketel Marte in their place, both of whom I would prefer. Maybe not over Seager, but at the expense of a Semien. If I can find a way to wiggle some of these guys around, I would. But look, because you're going up to Max Scherzer, you've got a lot of value that you have to take down here. You could kick out a Devers, and you could use a Candelario. Bregman only saves you a couple $100, but Candelario saves you over $1,000, and that's probably what gets you up off of Semien to a Ketel Marte or a Jose Altuve type, somebody along those lines in the utility spot once you swap Semien and Seager, to put Semien down here in the utility spot so that you've got maximum flexibility when you're rounding out your lineup. Save your utility spot for last. That's a tip. Because if you're looking for a $2,500 shortstop, you've got no options. If you're looking for a $2,500 utility, you've got more options. But if you can find a way to put your more expensive guys down here in the utility by putting this value type stuff in its positions, then it leaves your utility sometimes open as high as $3,400 like it is with Corey Seager. And that's what opens up all those options. You can use second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, outfielders, first baseman, whatever it is, because you're not pigeonholed to a specific position. Leaving yourself flexibility, planning as you build, is a very, very important skill to pick up, and something that we teach at dfsarmy.com when we talk about coaching our players that are a little bit confused or are wanting to learn a little bit about the fundamentals. See, a lot of us old dogs had to hand build. We didn't have optimizers. So when the optimizers came along, we started figuring out how to use these optimizers to create lineups that kind of look like they're hand built, because we already know the techniques and we know what we're looking for. If I came in today from scratch and needed help and was building on optimizers, I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. That's why I would need some coaching. I would need access to somebody to walk me through and teach me why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that's what we do at dfsarmy.com. That said, let's kick over to Draftkings and let's turbo through the main slate over there as well, provided we have ownerships. Guys, I'm looking at this for the first time today myself. I have not opened this software up yet once, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up with the old 5, 2, no randomization, sort by ownership once again. Thank God it's in there. Kick everybody off, and let's kick some of them back on. Looks like Gaussman, Cole, and then everybody drops off. That ain't right. That ain't right. You're going to get more ownership on Bueller's and Darvishes and people like that. That's not right. But for now, that's what we're looking at. That's what we're rolling with. Got to use a catcher. Yeah, Salvador Perez is important, but you're going to need some value at this position. So a Tucker Barnhart looks like he might be a little bit higher owned today. If I could get a Jose Herrera or somebody in the top 3 or 4 spots in the order, that would be a good thing. I really don't want to have to come down here to a Higashioka Higashioka or whatever the hell his name is at the 9-hole. I don't like 9-hole. That's another tip for cash games. Get the top of the order. Your at-bats are everything to you. The more at-bats your team has, the more opportunities it has to accumulate points, even if it's just a walk or a single. And that very well might be the difference between you eking into the cash lineups, cut lines, and missing. Focus on at-bats, at-bats, at-bats. 1 through 5 hole hitters should be your priority. First base. Hunter Dozier, yeah, these are not right. But I'm just showing you the system here. Maybe we'd include a Kirilloff at cheap. Christian Walker, I guess, maybe. But 2,300 is going to get that. Hunter Dozier at 4,300. I've got a high, I've got a low. Second base, probably won't be using Cron. He's probably too expensive. Cesar Hernandez, scope, maybe we'll go down to 10% round up to get Kittle Marte in there. And we've got a lot of options at second base. JD Davis is the chalk, it looks like, for now. And we can get down to Candelario. And then there's that drop off from 14 to 9%. So I probably cut it off right there. Don't need to consider many other people. Nicky Lopez, again, too damn many Royals right now. Royce Lewis, Jorge Mateo. If you want to, you could include those guys. They're cheap. Go for it. Will Castro might land in there first. Nemo's a good cash play typically. Meadows not. Kana not great. Michael A. Taylor probably not. I'm looking at Byron Buxton. Yes. Nelson Cruz probably not. Benintendi probably not. Judge yes. Robbie Grossman maybe if he's leading off. And I come down here to an Ortega, Austin Hayes maybe. Giancarlo Stanton yes. Hap, Connor Joe if he's leading off yes. Alex Thomas, Cooper Hummel, Max Kepler, Jordan Luplow, Jordan Alvarez maybe. I'd like to see more ownership on him. Charlie Blackmon's been pretty bad this year. Mike Trout always, even if he's low owned, who cares? If the optimizer likes him, it's going to throw him in there. Shohei Ohtani, maybe. But you got to do the comply thing. That always sucks. So let's take Mike Trout and let's cut him down to a 10.77. Let's take Connor Joe, cut him down to a 9.72. It's just an easy way to not really change the projections for squat, but get past that stupid little rule that you hear me mention every single day. 5 lineups, Gaussman, Cole, that was obvious. Perez, again. Merrifield, again. Taylor, again. Too many Royals. Brad Miller is a decent pick. We're going to, again, have to update this when the projections, when the projections update, lineups confirm, and we get a little bit later into the afternoon. Right now, this system is running a little bit behind because it is just off kilter. You can just tell. If you follow these things day to day, you can just kind of tell. But when I come down here and look at the lineups, again, I'm just looking to make sure there aren't a ton. There are 3 Royals, 2 Texas Rangers, 2 Detroit Tigers. It's going to be a little tough. It's going to focus on a little bit of the cheaper stuff because you've got Cole and Gaussman, and they're spending 19.6 on your pitchers, which is a lot, but it's important in, cash games. You want that floor, and you want guys that get you that 3-4x return, and that's where you're going to find it. You're going to find it more often in your pitchers, more consistently in your pitchers. Yeah, you're going to miss pitchers every once in a while, but you're going to find it in those pitchers more often than you are in bats. But your pitcher isn't going to hit 8x or 10x like your bats will, so sometimes the bats can save your butt, but most of the time, they're just not. It's a good game to get them 3 to 4 to 5x. Now look at that lineup. What would I do in this lineup here? Actually, I would probably take Seager out of the shortstop, or I might take Salvi Perez out at catcher, force in a Tucker Barnhart for cheaper, save the $2,000, take the Whit Merrifield out, put in a Kittle Marte 4,500. I would have the money to do that. Cesar Hernandez is a little bit cheaper leading off, but Kittle Marte's game logs have been insane lately. So I would try to put him in lineup. I like a lineup with CJ Cron in it at first base. I like him better in Coors Field, of course, but 5,800 is a tough pill to swallow. Just would have to kind of poke around, massage these things in and out. Like the first thing I would do, I'd kick Austin Meadows out of here. In fact, I wouldn't even check him in the boxes over here. But these are things that we can talk about a little bit more as we fine-tune the system later on today for the VIPs. So if you're not a VIP, use the code DFSArmy. Get your butt in here, get your 10% off, and start learning how to build fundamentally sound lineups, because that's what we do. That's what we teach for cash games and tournaments, and hopefully you can be winning at a 15-3 clip like we are inside DFS Army real soon. Take care, guys. Happy Friday the 13th. Hopefully no bad luck hits you tonight, and we will talk to you later. Peace out, homies.